On behalf of the Board of Governors, I'd like to welcome all of you to this morning's gathering. Thank you to all the MAP members with us, to our guests and friends for joining us. Some of you may probably wondering, what is MAP doing talking about the arts? Well, let me answer that question outright. Globally, the Philippines is supposed to be one of the most competitive, if not the most competitive, in the creative industries. And we are told that one of the great industries which has an unquestionable future is the creative industries. And so the topic of art is going to be something economically viable and relevant moving into the future. So allow me to give you a few updates instead of giving you a long litany of activities and what we've done. I just want to show you MAP by the numbers. I want to say that ever since I assumed the presidency of the MAP, I've been overwhelmed by the support, the dedication, and the engagement of the MAP members. So Arnold and I decided, let's start a very good management practice. After all, we are a management association, to set up some metrics and measures. And you know, in this world of data and AI, it's good to start putting data like this together. So these charts will tell you the number of man-hours that have been tabulated for each of the committees in the MAP. There's 574 total man-hours since latter part of January after we were inducted. If you put a value to 574 hours based on the wisdom, brain power, and management skills that have been put to it, that's not a small amount. There's also been a total of 90 man-hours in meetings with government agencies, institutions, and other partners. Henceforth, we will be measuring this regularly just to make sure that we are aware of the kind of resources, involvement, and brain power that MAP has brought to the Philippine economy, the Philippine nation as a whole. I'd like now to really say that thank you to the dedication. It is your involvement, your service, your engagement that makes things happen in MAP. I'd like to update you that we have adjusted the MAP vision. The reason for that is the old vision is no longer a vision because it has become a reality. Okay, the old vision of management excellence is now a reality. So your Board of Governors has come up with a new vision, which is by 2028, MAP shall be the leader in the ASEAN in promoting management excellence for nation building. We believe that a vision should be something we aspire for, we target for, and that's what a vision is supposed to be. So we've set ourselves for a new target of not just being in the Philippines, but already going beyond ASEAN. I'd like to give tribute to former President Dick Dubalabad, who already started doing that last year with engagements with other business organizations and management organizations in the ASEAN. So we hope to increase that involvement. I'd like to mention and thank our Vice President Noel Bonoan, who's been very active and working on membership engagement. As you know, we've said all GMMs will now have either a big issue talk, a leader's talk, or an inspired talk. So thank you to that. Those members who are not here will be getting a letter from Vice President Noel and myself encouraging them to join. We just want to remind you, we started the big issues in February 7 with an economic briefing by Mr. Aris Dacanay. I'd like to invite you that on June 19, we will have Dr. Andrew Staples, the Asia Pacific Head of Thought, Leadership and Public Policy at The Economist Impact, the advisory arm of the economic group. This is all part of the big issues. On the leadership series, we had the Secretary of Commerce of the United States, Secretary Raimundo, with us last March 12. And on the Inspired series, which we're going to kick off today, we're going to have two wonderful ladies who accepted our invitation, Ms. Isa Lorenzo and Ms. Rachel RILLO. Isa and Rachel are co-owners and co-gallery directors of Silver Lens Gallery, who has been recognized by the highly respected art magazine as among the world's 100 most influential people in art. So world, not Philippines, not Manila, but they belong to the world's 100 most influential people there. On May 8th, we're going to have Mr. Bob Lilwal, a National Geographic adventurer, who will be our guest speaker. And also on August 14, another inspired series talk, we will have Mr. James Taylor. No, he's not the singer. Okay, a globally acclaimed speaker on super creativity and innovation in the era of AI, although I would have wanted to hear him sing one of his songs again. I'd like to thank and acknowledge that we've recently reconstituted the MAP Communications Committee chaired by Ms. Sue Di Macali with Hil Chua as co-chair, Karen Remo as vice chair. I will be the governor in charge. The reason why we decided to get involved with my personal involvement in the Communications Committee is because in this world of communications, we need to make ourselves a bit more relevant. There will be internal communication initiatives as well as external communications initiatives. We have a very wonderful video about MAP, but we will be coming up with new versions or new inputs to that video. We have discussions of using the various social media platforms to actually spread the news about MAP, but more than that, to enhance the brand of MAP as an organization, not just in the Philippines, but in the region. I would like to thank the Health Committee. As you are coming in, you would have seen the tables outside. The Health Committee wants all of you to be very healthy. So, in case you want to know what your blood sugar is and want to check on your kidney function, those tests are available outside. So before you leave today, as we finish the meeting, I'd encourage you to visit the booths outside because the Health Committee wants to make sure that you're all very healthy, and not just the booth outside, but guess what? Even what you're eating today has been worked on by the Health Committee. They computed the nutritional value and the calories there too, so my wife will be very happy that I had lunch here today. But thank you very much to the Health Committee. We'd also like to acknowledge that the search is now on for the participants in the 4th SGV MAP Next Gen CEO Transformative Leadership Program, which is scheduled to start on May 27. We already have so many applicants. We may have to talk to SGV to increase the number of participants eventually. The Next Gen CEO Transformative Leader Series program, is a 7-month in-person interactive mentoring and development initiative that aims to encourage high-performing young and future CEOs to cultivate key capabilities and skills. I had the privilege of having been a mentor in this program several years ago on 2 occasions and found it very rewarding. It's not just a learning from the mentee perspective or even those who want to mentor. There's so much to learn from the young. Moving forward, I'd like to take this opportunity to advertise and encourage you to continue your engagement with MAP. On May 29, we will have MAP ICT Summit on Optimize and Protect Your Business Emerging Strategies in Managing AI and Cyber Risk. 2 very important topics. Some people are afraid, some people don't understand how it's impact, but we encourage members to join this particular summit. On July 11, something equally, if not even more important, the MAP Energy Conference on Securing Our Energy Future, Balancing Affordability, Reliability, and Sustainability in a Transforming Energy Landscape. Over the past few days, we have had red alerts and yellow alerts all over the national grid. We are short of power, so MAP is stepping forward and saying, can we at least sit down, talk, and discuss, because our future is going to be so dependent on the amount and price of energy for the country. On July 18, we will be going to Cebu for a mini GMM in Cebu, because we do have a lot of members in Cebu. We're going to have a joint session with the Cebu Chamber of Commerce. I would like to invite all of you businessmen, businesswomen who have businesses in Cebu or are interested in Cebu or just want to spend a few days eating lechon and everything else. Please come down and join us. There will be socials, also known as lechon eating session, and the Cebu hosts promise to make it interesting for us. On September 10, MAP International CEO Conference on Business in 5 Movements. See, talking about the arts, we're now really talking the language of arts. Business in 5 movements, basically wisdom, passion, and inspiration from 5 generations. So this is going to be a cross-generational forum and initiative. And finally, on November 8th, the MAP Next Gen Conference on Beyond Bytes and Budgets, Breaking Barriers in Transformative Digitization. Okay, so we'd now like to ask you to please continue to engage with us. Please continue to monitor your Viber. I know the Viber chats of MAP probably set the world record in number of messages. I have 23 Viber chats in my cell phone, all courtesy of MAP. Sometimes my wife suspects that I am actually talking to somebody else, the amount of time I spend on Viber, but we want to encourage the committees. There is a lot of engagement in these Viber chats. Continue to do so. Of course, there's the website, map.org.ph, and the MAP memo, or our electronic newsletter. So please be informed of the various activities that we have. In closing, let me be very corny today and quote one of my favorite politicians in the United States. At the inaugural address of John F. Kennedy, he did say, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." The statement indirectly is saying, the more you do and get involved, the more you will benefit. May I close with an invitation to all the MAP members. Ask not what MAP can do for you, but what you can do for MAP. And the more you get involved, I assure you, the more you will benefit from your membership with us. Thank you very much and good afternoon.
The MAP Chair on Member Engagement, headed by MAP Vice President Noel Bonoan and President Rene Almendras, has been trying to ensure the relevance of the topics and issues covered in the MAP General Membership Meeting and other activities, which have been mentioned by President Rene. The objective is to engage all members, like you and me, in a more meaningful way. The programs are being executed to be as interactive and engaging, discussing relevant topics and developments as to benefit the MAP members, your companies, and the economy. So President Rene mentioned about the Health Crawl, which is a sponsor by the Health Committee chaired by myself with Karen Batumbacal as Governor in charge, and with me, Ted Padilla and Chito Maniago as co-vice chairs. So please, again, we're inviting you to please check your sugar, check also all the exclusives for MAP members that are being given by the companies that participated today. So let me mention and thank everyone, and they are as follows, from the healthcare and pharmaceutical industry. First, with AC Health through MAP member Paulo Borromeo and Consulta MD Cindy Burdette. Also AstraZeneca through MAP member Lutis Ramin, who's doing kidney function tests, and we can do it today if you wish, right after your lunch, no? And see if if you're healthy. We really would like MAP members to be healthy, but I'd like to mention that Lotus and her team is doing a 1 million free kidney tests for this year. 1 million Filipinos that will be tested free. So if you have any companies that are any of your companies interested to do that in your own respective companies, we can certainly work with AstraZeneca on it. We'd also like to thank Cardinal Santos Hospital through MAP member Raul Pagdanganan. I saw that the colonoscopy, I'm sorry you're eating, but it's 36,000. That's really very cost effective. So, and I think that's going to be extended with 30% discount for their services. Central Medical International through MAP member Mitch Dina, thank you so much. Radnick Philippines Corporation through MAP member Carmi De Leon, and Roche Philippines through MAP member Diana Edrelin. So if you have any interest in the services being provided by our member pharmaceutical and healthcare companies, please please avail of their services. And we'd like to think that this is successful, and so we'll do that again and invite other members of our organization that are relevant to healthcare in the next GMMs. We've mentioned, Rene has mentioned about the menu today. So next time what we will do is really actually put the nutritional value in your in the menu today. Okay, so let's do a little bit of engaging activity, and we'd like to do a quick online survey among MAP members using Slido. Is the Slido ready? Okay, so please get your phone, go to slido.com, enter the following event code in all caps. Okay, so April_24 MAP GMM. You know, let's try to do this and let's see like how many of you can answer these questions. There's just a few, and they're just yes or no, but we'd like to do a quick survey, yeah? And the first question, are you already in Slido? Yes? Okay. Before we start with the first question, it's a health quiz survey. Again, the code is April_24 MAP GMM in all caps. First question, you ready? No? All right, first question. Do you have maintenance medicines? Please answer accurately and truthfully. Wow, 50%. 50% of the people here. And the average age is what? 62, I think. So, okay, it's getting there. It's showing our age. Okay, what medicine, and can you please pick, this is the second question. What medicine is what you're taking for maintenance? Is it for hypertension, diabetes, or others? What would be others? So a lot. So that lechon, President Rene, is going to be difficult for people to eat in Cebu. All right, let's ask this other question. Do you sleep more than 5 hours a day? So the 26% maybe have insomnia, not really, or less than, or workaholics, max because you're MAP members, yeah? Next question, please, truthfully, do you exercise? And exercise means more than 10,000 steps, please. But for ages 90 and above, maybe 5,000 steps is enough. Okay, 76%. Now, please, do you have executive checkup, or have you done your executive checkup this year? Wow, 77%. That's very good. So for the 79%, the 20%. There's Central Medicale, there's Cardinal Santos, there's Fullerton. So maybe you can ask for a good price. Next. Oh, that's it. All right, so we will have those again in future GMMs, and hopefully you enjoyed that to see how healthy and fit to work our MAP members. So thank you for participating in that survey. Okay, at this point, for the presentation of the new MAP members for induction, I would like to call on the chair of the MAP Membership Committee, who is also the founding partner and CEO of Du Baladad and Associates, or BDB Law, Attorney Dick Du Baladad.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I am pleased to announce that this afternoon, we are inducting 12 new MAP members who will increase MAP's total membership from 1,080 to 1,092. And just to inform the body, a while ago, we also approved another 21 new members. Before I read their names, may I just say that welcome to MAP. May I call on the first one, Mr. Stephen Araneta, Chief Sustainability Officer of Steel Asia Manufacturing Corporation, The line of business is reinforced steel bar manufacturing. Sponsors, Ms. Karen Batumbakal and Benjamin Yap. We have Patrick John Avila, COO of Ayala Land Logistics Holdings Corporation. Line of business, development and operation of industrial parks and real estate logistics facilities. Sponsors, Rowena Tumeldan and Secretary President Rene Almendras. Then we have Bhavana Chauhan, Country Manager of LinkedIn Philippines. Line of business, online professional networking services. And sponsors are Karen Batumbakal and Agnes Hervasio. We have Alexander Dumlao Corpus, President of CFO Surpass Inc., Technology Services. Sponsors, Attorney Mark Goriseta and Mr. Donald Lee. We have Christina Tina De Leon, the Country Controller and Representative of Bechtel Overseas Corporation. Line of business, architecture, engineering, and construction. Sponsors, Benny Arau and Baby Nueza. We have Kathy Rose Garcia, Managing Director of Business World Publishing Corporation. Line of business, print media. Sponsors, myself and Babe Singson. We have Maria Cristina Tuazon Gonzalez, EVP and Deputy CEO of Arms Corps Shooting Center, Inc. Line of business, retail and wholesale distribution of firearms, ammunition, and accessories. Sponsors, Lieutenant Colonel Gina Angangco and myself. We have Maria Katrina Macaisa Peña, Finance Fields of Play and Business Consulting Partner of SGV and Company, EY Philippines. Line of business, auditing, tax, transactions, and advisory services. Sponsors, Wilson Tan and Rosine Fajardo. We have Rufo Mendoza, Senior Vice President for Finance and Administration of De La Salle University. Line of business, education. Sponsors, Normie Villaruz and Wilson Tan. We also have Muriel Francesca Bagaliona, Regional President of Customer Experience APAC of Alorica Teleservices, Inc. Line of business, BPO. Sponsors, Karen Batumbakal and Marife Zamora. Dennis Serrano, President and CEO of St. Luke's Medical Center. Talking about health, we have here St. Luke's. Talking about executive checkup, we can ask discount from St. Luke's. Line of business, healthcare. Sponsors are Babe Singson and myself. We have Sarah Saavedra Songalia, Managing Partner of Saavedra Songalia and Associates, Financial Advisory, Business Consulting, and Review Services. Sponsors are Normie Villaruz and Wilson Tan. We have Carlos Estrigan, Head of Public Sector of the Aboitiz Data Innovation. Line of business, data science, and AI. Sponsors are Karen Batumbakal and Danelle Aboitiz. Last but not the least, Jason Romeo Cuevas Valderrama, the President and CEO and founder of JCV and Associates, Project Management and Development. Line of business, management consultancy services, and sponsors are Dom Frederick Andaya and Attorney Unimata Perez. At this point, I would like to call on our President Secretary Rene Almendraz to lead the induction of our new members. Please all rise to add solemnity to the occasion.
Thank you, Ma'am Dick. Let us recite this together. Please raise your right hand and read, I, your name, do hereby solemnly pledge that I will perform well and faithfully to the best of my ability my duties as a regular member in order to contribute to the achievement of the objectives of the Management Association of the Philippines. So help me God. Congratulations and welcome to MAP.
My name is LORENZO, and this is my partner, RILLO. And we co-own and co-run a gallery called Silver Lens, which was born in Manila in 2004. Had a side gig in Singapore from 2012 to 2016, and then was born again, expanded to New York City in 2022. So this is a hometown story, which I think Noel Bonon found really, really amazing. And we thank Noel, who's not even here, for inviting us to this. It's an honor, and Rachel and I kind of looked at each other when we entered the room, like, where are we?
Also, I would like to start with an apology. The glamorous women you saw in the poster, this is what you get, so we'll try to make it interesting for you.
Yeah, so the way we've structured our talk, because we, as a business, we run it, what Rachel is in charge of is very different from what I do. So we're it's going to be like this conversation between us, so I hope you guys don't mind. The slideshow you see in the back is sort of our 20 greatest hits. These are the stories we want to tell you guys. So it's just, at some point during the talk, these images will make sense to you. Okay, so, Silver Lens. Rachel and I, before you, well, thank you to the Board of Governors pala. Thank you, President Almendraz. Rachel and I, we are overeducated, but business ignoramuses. We have no business education between us, but between us we have 2 art degrees, a medical degree, and the postgrad in media studies. Silver Lens was born in 2004 in an apartment not very far from here, from BGC. And over the years, as opportunities came and grew, we adjusted by expanding. Today, at this moment, this week, Silver Lens and its artists are showing on 4 continents, including 14 countries and 20 cities. We're showing in the Philippines, we're showing in Italy at the Venice Biennale, we're showing in Japan at the Mori Art Museum, we're showing in multiple museums and institutions in the United States, we're showing in Chiang Rai, Thailand, we're showing in 3 cities in Canada, we're showing in Cairns, Australia, Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney. We're showing in Diriyah, Saudi Arabia. We are showing in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam and Rotterdam. We're showing in Singapore. We're showing in Antwerp in Belgium. We're showing in Madrid in Spain. We're showing in Oxford and London in the UK. And we're showing in Berlin in Germany. And all this from a small apartment from Bonifacio Global City. So, what does Silver Lens do? This is a mystery to a lot of people. It was actually a mystery to us as well, because when I started the gallery in 2004, You know, when you start a career in the arts, there are really no rules because nobody has created a template. There are no business models. So really, nothing is impossible. And when you don't know the impossibility of things, things become easier because you don't know. So everything we've learned by doing. We've learned by asking help from people from in other parts of the world, people who've been doing this for generations. And we really tried to create a professional structure for artists to be able to make work and to show this work, not just in the Philippines, but all over the world. So here in Manila, what you see is the tip of the iceberg. What we have here is a gallery space, and passing to my extension, I invite all of you to come see it. But really, what else do? We organize and produce exhibitions around the world. We collaborate with partner galleries in different parts of the world. We participate in global art fairs. Last year we did 8, and this year I think we're going to do 7 art fairs. This ranges from Singapore to Hong Kong to Seoul, Los Angeles, New York, Miami, and so on. We also help with museum exhibitions. We also are constantly pitching our artists to curators and decision makers globally in the art world for them to be included in biennales and triennales and other global exhibitions that will increase the footprint of our artists' reach. We also started doing publications. This is in partnership with several publishers, mostly from Hong Kong. So that's what we do. And the way we set it up, Rachel is in charge of everything creative. So the media team, so if you follow us on social media, on Instagram or Facebook or our website, that's all Rachel. She designs all the exhibitions. She does all the logistics. So everything that's fun and creative, that's her. Everything that's like programming, problems, artist management, sales, the government, that's me. Okay, that's how we split the work. So there's actually no overlap. Okay, what did we bring to the ecosystem of Manila in 2004? We brought large gallery sizes. So from an apartment, I ended up moving into a warehouse on Pasong to my extension, which used to be the piano factory of Yamaha School of Music. When we were kicked out in 2016 because the landlord wanted higher rent, we looked for another bigger warehouse and negotiated for a cheaper rent on an as-is, where-is basis, and we built our bespoke gallery now, which you're looking at. We also brought artist representation. Artist representation means we manage the artists from studio all the way to taxes. We help them with their business. We represent them, we rally for them, we find opportunities for them, and in return what we get is an exclusivity, wherein everything that they sell, we participate in. We also brought professional, transparent relationships between artists and galleries. So really building a professional structure with artist liaisons and support system, and everything from accounting to legal, we brought for our artists. And of course, global footprint. This is something that Rachel and I really take pride in. We've been doing global art fairs since 2008, and it's been, I would say it's always been against the wind and uphill, if you get what I mean, but it has been rewarding. So this map shows you where we are at the moment.
So this is just, I would say, in the last 2 months.
So I think maybe a question that you all want to find out the answer to is, how do we make money? Okay, how do we make money? We make money, our primary is by selling art. Okay, so we are the primary sellers of artworks, mostly from artworks direct from the artist studio. Okay. We make money on all levels. So it's the exhibitions, when we do art fairs and sell there, when we do collaborations, we make percentages on commissions. Every time there is a big project that we put together, Usually we are hired to be consultants for it. Or if the artists are from our represented group of 30 artists, who are mostly global artists, but of Filipino or Southeast Asian heritage, we make something. And the other way we make money is by weathering storms. Because we are in the Philippines, we really are able to keep our overhead costs to a level that would be able to make us do amazing things with very little budget. As we know, cost of labor here, cost of production, cost of logistics, here is really ideal for a business that is in the creative industry. Because our business in New York, the cost of doing all of this, the cost of doing logistics, the cost of doing, everything there costs money. To move an artwork 3 blocks, you're gonna pay $300 to $500 because you need a truck. And then you need to buy the insurance to insure that piece of artwork. And then you need to pay the art handlers who are going to bring the piece into and out of the truck. So can you imagine, here in the Philippines, no problem, it will be done. So weathering storms, we are big believers in finding opportunities in the absolute worst circumstances. So every time that there has been a big global upheaval or a personal tragedy in our lives, we have always managed to double down and rise like the phoenix. The first global upheaval was the Lehman Brothers collapse, the crash of 2008. I'm sure you all remember this. We were standing in an art fair in Singapore when this happened, and it became, the room emptied out, and we could hear ourselves breathing. It was death. It was death.
And I believe that was our second art fair ever.
Yeah, that was our second art fair ever. But an amazing thing happened. People started reinvesting in the Philippines and bringing their money back home. And part of that was buying art. And because our art at the time was very, very affordable, it became a no-brainer. And so we were getting clients, not just locally from the Philippines, but clients from Singapore, from Taiwan, from Hong Kong. And that really sort of made us realize that silver linings, good things can happen. The next big event was Typhoon Haiyan, which was Yolanda. We thought that was it. That day we were in Paris. We were at an art fair in Paris at Paris Photo, the Grand Palais, a very beautiful building. And Rachel and I were like, oh my God, this is it. We have to close. The Philippines is devastated. But another amazing thing happened because people started buying art as a salve. They wanted to buy art and be surrounded by beautiful things because everything was so depressing. So when something horrible happens, some people, they buy lipstick. A lot of people, they bought art. And we were again at the receiving end of this. The third upheaval was a personal tragedy for us. In 2016, a fire decimated our storage facility. We lost 256 works, and it was July 16, 2016. Never forget that.
So Lisa wanted to close?
Yeah, I wanted to close. But the support of the community and the support of our artists, I still get emotional now thinking about it. They all told us, we're still alive. We're gonna make work. And it's gonna be fine. It was also the year our landlord kicked us out, which was a blessing in disguise, because we were able to move into a bigger and better bespoke space with our own on-site storage, which we were able to design from the ground up. So that was amazing. And as we all know, our last global upheaval was COVID 2020. COVID 2020, Rachel had a media team of 2 people when the pandemic started, and by the end of the pandemic, she had 7 people, including herself. So it was a shift to online, shift to sharing information and creating a community of artists, collectors, patrons, and a general audience, all connected via social media. Facebook, Instagram, website.
Yeah. Should I?
Yes, and so I turn it over to Rich.
Yeah, so COVID, I still remember the day when we had to announce to our staff of, I believe, about 16, that we were going to close because of this pandemic. And our initial worry was, after, of course, a week later, another month, so on and so forth, that our artists and our staff had income, that we could support them throughout however long this lull was going to be. The good part is when artists are left, obviously, by themselves in their studios, what do? They make art. So they were not, the production was on the up. In fact, a lot of the artwork that came out of the pandemic were really, really great stuff. Because of that uncertainty, you know, all of these emotional
And time.
to just be, creating work. Hello. Okay. What was I saying? Our team, we decided to work obviously from home, online, and made sure that our audience were both entertained to some degree, because our audience were also at home twiddling their thumbs. Realized that there was a lot of people from the United States, curators from large institutions, museums and such, that were interested in our program. So we would have midnight, Isa and I would go to the gallery with an iPad in our pajamas to show people in New York and other parts of the world the show that we had on. So we basically put up shows even though our doors were closed, and we would just do it online. So that said, I'm going to segue on to our New York space. Our New York space is a year and a half old.
It's 19 months.
She's counting the months like a baby. That was a COVID decision as well. Because of this interest in our program and in our gallery that we found through our analytics and just talking to more people on Zoom.
Also, if I may add, the pandemic was amazing for our business. 2021, going into 2022, were our best years ever in terms of profitability. Only eclipsed by 2023 and 2024. So something happened. There was like something. And then, yeah, Rachel will talk about that.
Well, I guess talking about, the typhoon, the fire, all of these negative things really bring out a universal, knee-jerk, sort of feel-good in ourselves, to surround ourselves with beautiful things or things that we personally like to see, to live with. And I think that's the common denominator with all of those negative things and our business sort of thriving in those situations. Anyway, back to New York. As soon as we could fly out of Manila, Isa and I decided to go to New York to spend some time, maybe a month or two. And we started to talk to some friends, some gallery friends in New York, both locally, New York people and transplants. So let's say a Brazilian gallery in New York. So we asked them if it was maybe a good idea if we opened, and they were quite supportive. They gave us a couple of sound advice. They said that if we were going to open a space in New York, it needed to be as big and as impressive as what we had at home. It needed to be in a place where if our audience, meaning the Filipinos in Manila or Southeast Asia, would come to New York, they would spend a day and visit us. So we said, of course, it needed to be Chelsea. There's a few avenues between 10th and
streets,
11th.
10th Avenue and 11th Avenue.
That's full of all of these big galleries. So we were like, well, dreaming, maybe we could do that. So we started to look for some rental spaces in Chelsea. And very quickly, our dream sort of was crushed. The average rent was 45 to 50,000 a month, US, just for rent. And these spaces were spaces that we still needed to renovate and make into a gallery. So we came home at the end of that year a little discouraged.
But something happened. I had, over the Christmas break, I was playing a round of golf with a non-art friend. And she was telling me, she was asking about New York, what happened? So I said, you know what, the idea is dead, it's too expensive. She goes, what do you mean it's too expensive? It's too expensive, the rent is like crazy. She said, no, why don't you buy something? So I said, what? I mean, it's like impossible. It was an impossible idea. So I said, can we do that? She's like, yeah, it's America. You can buy something. So, okay, so Rachel and I,
So we spoke to a real estate agent. So we said, you know, why, just give it a go. We spoke to a real estate agent on Zoom. And so this guy comes on, and he and I were seated next to each other, and he says, what are you looking for? And Isa, straight-faced, says, these are the 5 things I want. I want between these streets and these streets. I want street level. I want at least 20 feet ceilings. I would like a sky roof, and at least 2,500 square feet. It was in feet. So there's 5 things. And I was looking at her like she was crazy. So we shut the Zoom, and I told her, you're nuts. And she says, if we get 3 or 2, we'll be okay. Let's see what he can do. 3 days later, the space comes out with all 5. So it's this story when, you know, all the stars are aligned. And so at this point we look at each other and we're like, can we even afford
yeah,
this?
we looked at each other like, okay, what's the price? So the price was actually half price. It was way below market. And I'll tell you why shortly. Nobody died there. But of course, then it became, okay, how do we fund this? And of course, the stuff that nobody wants to think about, but the stuff that gets things done. So how are we going to fund this? How are we going to own it? We had to talk to a whole bunch of, there were art lawyers, there were art accountants. So in New York, all of these experts or the people that you speak to, they're all specialists. So our art lawyer, that's all he does, art. We needed to be referred to a real estate lawyer. And then our accountant was an art accountant who was able to set up many, many businesses of other galleries from all over the world. Anyway, we found out how to do it. Actually, finding out how to do it and getting it done was longer than the search for this. And then even when the condo board, when they approved it, they told me, okay, it'll take maybe 3 to 4 weeks for the condo board to approve your purchase. It took them 5 hours. So I'm thinking, what's going on here, right? It's just so, like, weird.
Too good to be true.
Yeah, too good to be true. Anyway, it turns out that the guy who owned it was also a gallery owner. I had actually been to that gallery several times in the last 20 years. He was son of the developer of the building. He had that space and he was undergoing a very, very terrible divorce. So he needed to cash out very quickly.
So all those factors, the price being very, very low because it was right after the pandemic, his terrible divorce, and just timing. So we jumped.
Yeah, so we were fortunate enough to acquire the building, and from there we're like, okay, we gotta open a gallery. So that was when the keys were turned over April, about this time 2 years ago. And we needed to hire people, figure out who to show, the artists that would open the show, figure out our programming, and it was nuts. It was really nuts, but we did it. And here we are now, 19 months later. And I have to, I mean, we were talking to each other this morning and we're like, okay, why are we doing this again? Why are we killing ourselves in New York? And, you know, the reasons are, first is the Philippine history with the US. You know, nobody in the US knows that the Philippines was once a territory alongside Guam and Puerto Rico and this kind of, and Cuba. This is a very, very absent. It's a black hole. Secondly, and we want to remind them, or we want to tell them that, hey, we exist. Second is, there's a massive collecting audience in many layers. And they are all interested in the gaps in their collections. And Southeast Asia is a massive gap in their collections.
Sorry, can I interrupt? This is an image of the opening in New York. I know it keeps running around. But we had over 1,000 people the day we opened our first show. I guess Filipino-American creative who was in New York, Asian Americans who work in the art.
Anyone who was Filipino adjacent, they all showed up. And they refused to leave. It was heaving. I mean, it was amazing. We were in shock. We didn't know that that audience existed. And it was all word of mouth. And all cheering us on, all incredibly proud. People were crying. Families were coming in by the carload. It was very amazing. So going back to the massive collecting audience, the reason why we're there is because we want all the global institutions to buy art from where we are from. So in New York, you have 5 global institutions. You have the Met, the MoMA, kind of the Whitney, maybe those 3 are those are the big ones. Of course, there's the Brooklyn Museum and the other sort of borough museums. And then you have a lot of regional museums. There are university museums all over the United States, the private foundations and private collectors. So these 5 layers are all buying art in different levels at different times. They all have or will have experts who are doing research on us, on the Philippines, on Southeast Asia, on the invisible Asia. And they need to fill this need because if you look at the people who are going to these institutions, they look like us. They're all migrants. If you go to any museum in the United States, more than 50% will be Asian American. And why not to have something from where they're from originally? Why can't they see it on the wall? Right? So that's why we're there. Another thing is, I have to say that we opened a gallery in Singapore in 2012. We ran it for 4 years, but that was an exercise in failure. It did not work. It did not work for several reasons. First is, Singapore is very good as a laboratory setting, but if you put real world situation wherein you need chaos, you need creativity, you need artists who are going through problems, or a culture that is trying to solve, big issues. They don't have that.
Singapore is young and rich, and we are old and poor.
Yes.
So in the creative world, that means there's a vat of creative juice and things to talk about when things are hard, or when people are when artists or a society, a culture is going through a long history of, say, hardship or cultural
Colonialism.
And Singapore is young and rich, so they missed that, I think, that gap. Anyway.
So what we learned from Singapore was we need to include artists from there into the program. So right now, we've started working with Filipino Americans, or I would say Asian American adjacent artists to our program, because you need this local energy, even if you are in a global city like New York. Okay, so Silver Lens, from local to global, what has happened since? Our program has certainly been elevated. We have known a lot of museum people and curators and art world decision makers. We've known them for the most part of 15 years. But when we landed in New York, all of a sudden, they know us. So when we landed in New York, all of a sudden we were selling to big institutions like in Japan, the Mori Art Museum, a whole bunch of Australian galleries, Australian national galleries started buying from us. Museums from the West Coast, museums from New York, all of a sudden they were interested in the program. The other thing that happened is the press. There's a slide that shows all the press that we've had in the last 19 months of operation in New York. It's incredible. Our last 3 shows in New York have been reviewed by the New York Times. And these are all organic. This is not through PR agency. We do, however, have a PR firm, and they themselves are shocked at the amount of press that we get. I would say of this list, I would say maybe 40% is driven by the PR, and then 60% is organic. And the reason being, all of these press outlets, they all have a Filipino or a Filipino-American or a Filipino-adjacent writer on staff. I'm going to tell you about Max Duron. Okay? Max Duron, he works for, I would say he works for Art News. He works for Art News. So we invited him to our dinner, cold invite, and he shows up. And the next day, he writes this most amazing article about us, which came out on the first day of Freeze New York. And we were showing a solo show by the late Philippine-American Bay artist Carlos Villa. And Max had this really beautiful write-up about Carlos Villa and about the community and the love he felt at the dinner the night before. Of course, there was like singing, and there was lots of hugging, and there was lots of, Pinoys, right? And I asked him, once we got to know each other more, and said, why are you so interested in the Philippines? He's Mexican. He's Mexican-American, and he was born and raised in LA. And he tells me that when he was a teenager, his best friend was Pinoy. And he was being bullied. Max was being bullied in his high school. And every day, because he came from a single home family, his mother would only come home from work at 8 p.m., he said, Tita Josie would feed me every day.
Yeah, so it's like weird connections like that. For example, another example is when we opened in New York, it was also Fashion Week in New York. So it was really kind of dog-eat-dog grind during Fashion Week. Editor at
Yeah, he really fought. He fought for us. He wanted us to claim space for that week. So this embracing by community and by people who work in the art world, in creative industries, is huge. And we are standing on their shoulders. The other thing that's happened is a lot of institutional support. So the Metropolitan Museum of New York, the Museum of Art, Modern Art in New York, the San Jose Art Museum, and beyond, they have all supported our program. And this within 1 year of us landing in New York. Every week, every month, we are confirming sales to these giant institutions. And I promise you, within the next 1 or 2 years, the next time you go into any of these institutions, you will see work by a Filipino artist. So why Filipino contemporary art?
says that's mine. I think the interest or why we believe that Filipino contemporary art should be seen is because it's authentic. It comes from a place where, like I said, deep history, deep struggle, but at the same time, because our history is mauled with sort of, our being islands or us being colonized, the kind of work that we make in the contemporary, in the now, is very accessible and very legible to the rest of the world. So it kind of looks Hispanic, Latin. It kind of feels very Western because we're trained or we're educated in sort of the Western art history. We are a large migrant group, and so in the U.S., a lot of the Filipino-American diaspora artists speak about being migrants, and being migrant not necessarily as Filipinos, but the experiences of a migrant, of someone who is out of place, not necessarily looking for identity, but looking for other people who have the same experiences as them, not really belonging to one place or another. I'm talking about these diaspora Filipino-American third generation, fourth generation, wherein they're brown as brown gets, but there's nothing there that makes them Filipino nor American or German or whatever. There's also a big rise in Asian American curators in these big museums. I think a lot of this is driven by the Korean cultural push.
The Koreans, we are hanging on the coattails of the Korean, super ship of art and culture.
So I think the timing is right. I think our artists
Also, it's very undervalued.
yes.
Our art is very undervalued in terms of a global price point. So it's very attractive.
Yes.
Okay. So
So now that we're operating 24 hours
yes,
because of
we
the
wake
time
up,
difference,
we sleep.
New York and Manila, there are many challenges.
So the challenges, I just wanted to end with the challenges that we have on the Manila gallery and on the US gallery, because they're completely different. They're two different businesses. One is running, but they're both running as best as they can, I think. So in New York, our biggest challenge is it's expensive. In Manila, our biggest challenge is our staffing. In New York, there are different clients. Our clients in New York are institutional and global, and they are slow clients. Sales are slow. They take a long time to decide because they go through many, many layers of decision makers. Whereas in Manila, sales are fast because they're mostly to private institutions. The goals also are different. The goals of New York, the goal of the New York Gallery of Silverlands, New York, is for artists' artworks to be collected by global and other institutions for visibility and to be part of a global conversation. Whereas our goal in Manila is to nurture our artists and take care of our teams and our families. The measures of our success, of course, your income, that's a big measure, but also visibility, the collections that our artworks enter, the inclusion in important US and global events. So for example, last week, I was just at the Venice Biennale. The first time I went to the Venice Biennale, which is like the Olympics of the art world, it started in 1895, and every 2 years it's been happening. The only time it didn't happen was for World War II, and for 1 year during COVID, but they came back. When I first went to the Venice Biennale in 2009, there was 0 Filipino representation. This year we have 5 Filipino artists, and 2 of them are from Silverlands. 2 of them are dead. And one is a young performance artist based in Belgium. So the Filipino artists are, we have Maria Taniguchi, we have Pasita Abad, we have Anita Magsaysayho, we have Nena Sagil, and we have Josh Serafin. And in the pavilions, the Filipino pavilion, we have Mark Salvatos, curated by Carlos Quijón. Carlos Quijón, a young curator who has just been hired by the MoMA New York. He's from UP. So amazing, amazing. So opportunities everywhere, really. We can't catch enough of them. They're just being thrown at us. The patina of New York has made Manila even more profitable. There is a deluge of global artists who want to work with us because they respect our program. And the curators and art world decision makers are now coming to Manila. So in the last 3 months, we've hosted people from the Met Museum in New York, from the Pompidou in Paris, and there are others coming in the next few months. Challenges? We went through it. Okay, so Noel said, this is Noel's request, you have to give us naman insider info. Like, who are the artists to watch out for? So right now, globally, there is a push or a recognition of female abstraction. Female artists who work in abstraction. So these are some of them. So there's, this is Catalina Africa, who's a young artist. This is Keka Enriquez, who some of you might know, who's in her 60s. And then there is, the previous one is, this is Imelda Kahipe Andaya, who is in her 70s. So all incredibly amazing artists, all working in abstraction and others, but I wanted to show you some abstraction. Imelda Kahipe Andaya, this is a show opening this week here in Silverlands, Manila. And incidentally, there is a big show of the National Gallery Singapore on Imelda Kahipe Andaya next year. And nobody knows her here. She's amazing. So our job is to find these unicorns and to polish them and to put them out into the world. So people like you can come and learn more about them and hopefully buy their work. Anything else, Rach?
Well, we're 20 years old this year, and I feel really privileged to be doing what we do. We are 20 years old here, but we're 19 months in New York. So it's nice to be able to be confident enough and old enough to know what we're doing, but at the same time introduce to a whole different market as newbies. So hopefully it will continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, so thank you so much, Isa and Rachel. So inspiring, no? And kaka-proud to be Filipino. And then, of course, talking about women in doing abstract. So, all right, we will now proceed to the Q&A. And just wanted to show you, Silverlands is giving away tote bags, Manila, and New York, okay, for the first six people who will ask a question. Of course, no. There's no free lunch. Therefore, no free tote bags. All right, so we will now ask our moderator for today, the indefatigable Attorney Lorna Kapunan, Chair of the MAP Arts and Culture Committee, and Senior Partner of Kapunan and Castillo Law Offices. There are microphones on the floor for your use in asking your questions. Again, just a reminder, please be brief. Please refrain from making a speech or storytelling. Please wait to be acknowledged before you ask your questions. And we are now ready for Q&A. Take it away, Attorney Lorna.
Thank you so much to our dear moderator, but I think I'm the wrong person to sit here because people say I'm maginoo pero medyo bastos. So let me be true to form. I know Isa and Rachel since they were kids. In fact, when Isa says she started in 2004, she consulted with the best lawyer that then in Makati, now in BGC, syempre yours truly yun. But then that was what, 20 years ago, and now we see Isa and Rachel going beyond borders. My first question is, nakakain ba ang art? Kasi in the range of priorities where there are financial challenges, that's the first thing that people will give up, art.
Well, you know, Pinoys, we love to shop. okay? And we love beautiful things. I have not met a Pinoy who didn't have an opinion about aesthetics. So if you enter everyone's house, nobody is a minimalist. Nobody. So we benefit from this love of this curiosity towards beautiful things.
And collecting. I think.
And collecting.
You're talking to a lot of businessmen here, and it's amazing when you say that the cost of doing business here in the Philippines has been an advantage for you, when most of us complain, at least in our own businesses, about the cost of doing business. How are you able to deal with that? Maybe we're being too harsh tayo dito about our government and about our... But you saw the advantage in continuing to be based in the Philippines. Why so?
On my end, a lot of so there are two shops, right? There's two galleries. I have 4 people in New York, and I have 20 in Manila. They pretty much equal the same amount in salary.
Yeah, so the 4 people in New York are paid the same as collectively as the 20 people in Manila. But Manila does a lot of the legwork. So a lot of the media.
Yeah,
is done
so a
in
lot of
Manila.
the creative stuff, the graphic design, the media, everything that goes in
The accounting is done in Manila. Some of the logistics is also done out of Manila. Manila runs the logistics.
But you said that your problem with Manila is staffing.
Yes.
I guess we experienced that in all our businesses. There's no more sense of loyalty, there's no sense of ownership, there's no passion in what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. Do you see that in the art world or in your business?
Oh, more so, because the attention span of people who are in the creative world is even shorter than than regular people. Yeah, the challenge is staffing, because we are, there's nobody like us. So our needs as a business, you can't find them in other companies. So it's become such a challenge to train people, and then they leave. You know the drill, right? You spend a year, 18 months training them, and then, somebody in Singapore calls. All of a sudden, they're moving to Singapore, It happens to us, but for us, now that we have the New York Gallery, there's more opportunity for travel, there's more opportunity also to make more, and hopefully they stay longer because they like the job. It's fun.
Okay, I have 2 more questions before I open. Donna, I see you. Only because I'm curious about your answer. First is, what is the effect of artificial intelligence? We now have paintings being done by robots. And secondly, ano ba tong tinatawag na non-fungible tokens, NFTs, and how could they be a threat
I'll
to
answer that first.
your world?
NFTs is actually just a vehicle for cryptocurrencies to trade. They attach the blockchain number to a creative object, whether it's a GIF or a video or even a photograph, and that blockchain number gets sold in a cryptocurrency, and that gets traded. So this, for me, is not an art thing. This is a tech crypto thing. In fact, the NFT world was really trying to get the in real life art world to jump on that bandwagon, but they didn't, because with art you gotta see it. You have to see it. And nobody wants a screensaver as an artwork unless you're really trading it, unless you're just trading cards, right? So it never really took off. And then AI, the show that's opening this Friday is actually an AI show in the gallery. It's the first time we're doing this with full VR. The artist's name is Stephanie Kumilang and Simon Spicer. Stephanie is Filipina from Ilocos, but born and raised in Toronto and lives in Berlin. And Simon, her partner, he is Ecuadorian. So this is a first for us. So hopefully audiences will.
Yeah, so I guess to answer, AI will not replace. AI is a tool for these young contemporary artists to use to make their own work. So it's a technology. kind of like a camera, or it's just a tool. I don't think it will replace anything.
That's good to know. And now, dear audience, the mics are in front of you. Don't make speeches. And I see Donna here. Claim your bags, so ask your questions.
Hi, Miss Rachel. Congrats. My question, number one, I have two questions. In terms of investment for Philippine art, you were saying earlier that it's quite undervalued in terms of market, but does that appreciate, and how much is that? And I'm asking this on behalf of everybody here who would like to invest in Philippine art.
Okay, so in terms of numbers, for example, an artist who we started showing, I would say in 2007, when we were selling her painting, let's say a 4x6, it was 80,000 pesos. Now that 4x6 is about 2 million. And that's just primary price. But of course, in the 15 years it's happened since, that artist has grown, has gone places. There's a lot of collections that have acquired the work, the artist has won many awards, and of course the artist is also maturing in their practice. So when you buy an artwork, you're not just buying that artwork, you're investing in the future of this artist. So, and if you want to sell your piece, but this artist, nobody's selling their pieces, even if they're already at 2 million, 2, 3 million, you can. You can sell through the gallery, or you can go through the auction route, which is the secondary market. And then what is your second question?
The second, for those who have invested in art, what's the best way to, in terms of protecting artwork or like saving them from fire, etc., you need to get insurance?
That's interesting, because when our big fire happened, there was no art insurance in the Philippines. But now there is, because of our fire. Because we lost so much that all of a sudden, all the insurance companies were like, wait a minute, that is a viable business. So now there's Malayan art, we work with Malayan. Insuring is, rich conservation. And
How do you even do the valuation? Because
so the valuation, we're constantly revaluing works. Again, because we've been working with our artists for the most part of 20 years, we are the ones who control their prices. So we are able to establish what the price is, and it's a fair price. And we have a relationship with the artworks and the artists. So we're able to establish,
Thank you, Donna. Any other questions? Please identify yourself.
Hi, VJ Manuel. Good afternoon. Congratulations to both of you. It's hard to make it in New York. Lived there for 25 years. Anyway, my first question is, actually, can I get the names of the two other artists you mentioned? The other one I got, Catalina Africa, and the other one?
So there's Keka Enriquez, Francesca Enriquez. Keka Enriquez. And then there's Imelda Kahipe Endaya.
Sorry?
Imelda Kahipe Endaya.
Imelda Kahipe Endaya.
Yeah.
If I don't get that, I'll ask you again later. But I'm really more interested about demographics and psychographics of what you've noticed in terms of differences between Filipino Americans and Filipinos in the United States who buy art. Because based on experience, I think the Filipinos who have grown up in the US from the post-65 era really don't buy and appreciate art. So if you have an opinion, please, it would be great to hear. Thank you.
I'll just give one example. There is an art fair here in Makati called Art Fair Philippines every February. And it's in the car park. I absolutely adore it because it's so difficult to hang art. But they get about, how many people? Visitors. They get about 30,000 people into that fair. And these are not necessarily people who's been in a gallery or have been in a museum. This is people who want to see beautiful things. So I guess to answer the question, mimic that everywhere in the world, in many cities in the world. So it's accessible. Contemporary art is accessible, whether the city has big museums or barely any. It's everywhere. And then social media, right? We see a lot of art in social media, or we see people making art in social media. So the exposure becomes very personal. It's like, what do I like? So that's what I would recommend, that people come to the galleries. There are a few of us here. Come to the galleries and see what you like.
So also for the Asian American or Filipino American audiences, we do not have a lot of Filipino American buyers. We have a lot of American institutions, and then we have a lot of American collectors who can see that we are the future. We do, however, have a lot of Filipino American guests, audience, thousands. Thousands come to the gallery in New York, and they use it as a starting point. They meet there like a clubhouse, and then they stroll around the neighborhood. They go and have a coffee, or so it's become sort of this destination to be seen.
Thank you. Actually, that explains a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next question, identify yourself, please.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Deliza. I'm co-vice chair of the Next Gen Committee. Donna's also co-vice chair of the Next Gen Committee, and VJ is also one of our members of the Next Gen Committee. All right. Okay, so first question, I have two if you don't mind. My first question is, earlier you said that you assess, how often should art owners assess their personal stash? Or collections?
I would say we probably do it every 5 years.
Okay, so it's not something that you need to do every year, every
No.
5 years?
5 years for two reasons: for its value, obviously, but also for conservation purposes. So you got to check your artwork and see if they're still in good shape. If they're framed, you probably need to get them reframed after 5 years. It's just the weather. It's just our humidity is the kalaban.
Is there a service that helps collectors or people?
No, but
assess
there
that?
should. There's a business opportunity there.
And
Yeah, we actually brought in a Singaporean consultant just last month to do something, just to see if this is something that can be done here.
And I noticed in some of the collections, as you mentioned, humidity, heat, some collections have, especially if they're on paper, there's all of these spots. What to do if you have collections that are on paper, art on paper?
Difficult. It needs to stop doing what it's doing. So it's a live mold. It's called foxing, which usually happens. I mean, there are different kinds of molds. This is a whole different talk, but it just needs to stop. So it can't go back to its original state, but it needs to stop so it stops degrading.
So do we have this service also in the Philippines?
Yes, the Lopez Museum does it. But then we have a few private conservators who are also to do it. But we probably work with 3 or 4. So yeah, we can recommend that to you.
Thank you. Our next question, please.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Mary Ang. I'm a part of a membership committee. Where to get the authentication if the artist passed away?
That's a very, that's the biggest problem in the Philippines.
That's I forgot to get authentication when the artist
Yeah.
is
So usually there is an estate. It's usually the estate. You have to find the estate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Another question?
Well, sorry, just a comment. Mark Corbus from Surpass. I think at the start of your talk, you said you're full of talent, art talent, but short on the parang business sense, I guess. But the things that I picked up from what you did, as far as business goes, is resilience, the flexibility to tap opportunities, whether it's locating your stores, and even the outsourcing. You said your what do you call this? Your New York office actually outsources the accounting work and the graphics work to Manila. So that's all actually business. That's good for us who are in the
It's
business.
common sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I think we're running out of time, but we have, yes. Anyone? Yeah.
Firstly, congratulations.
Thanks, Maddie.
And I used to work at Silverlands, but hearing your story, it's all so inspiring and everything. And I just had like a more general question. It's not as specific as some of the other ones here, but as a young person who's interested in maybe collecting art in the future, do you have any general advice that you can present to anyone who's interested in starting an art collection?
My general advice is to go see art. So if you guys are going on a trip to wherever in the world, do one museum, do a couple, and see what you'd like to see or a gallery. Here locally, again, there's more of us. There are other galleries, and it's good to just know what you like before you delve. And then obviously if you're going to start collecting, then you have to do your work. You have to do your research, you have to do your homework about the artists and where they've been and what they've done in their careers, etc., etc. Isa?
Yeah, it's always important to look at the artist's CV because that's where you see the future. You see the past and you see the ambition and you see the future in that CV. So, and working with many artists, I mean, Rachel and I have very, very high standards. If you know this, Maddie. So when we take on an artist, we don't take on an artist lightly. We've done the legwork and we've done the due diligence and we know that this artist is worth something. So I think buy from reputable galleries. I would say don't buy directly from artists because what happens when you buy directly from the artist, a lot of times those artists get burned by their own markets. Because there's nobody advising them. So a lot of them tend to oversupply.
Okay, thank you.
There's one more question from the gentleman, but before that, I'm very curious. Can you speak to the issue of money laundering and art?
Yes, the art business is the biggest black hole, laundry for money. But at our level, we are not. Maybe auction houses more than art galleries. If you can see auction houses, a lot of the trading that goes on there has nothing to do with artists. It has everything to do with the people who own them and people who are trading them. So no, it happens. Yeah. It's very, very. Yeah.
That's good to know. Thank you. Cora.
Thank you.
Last 2 minutes tayo, Cora, ha?
Yes.
Because President Rene here is
first I'd
stickler
like
for
to
time.
congratulate Isa. I don't know if she was introduced properly as a town awardee.
We are town awardee, Cora, myself, and Isa.
Yeah, so congratulations to both of you. I think MAP members have at least two main interests in the arts. One is for investment, and the other one is to, now that they have the time, many are about 60 years and older, to express themselves in the arts. And on the first one, I just want to share my experience with my colleagues here that early enough, I tried to buy paintings when the artists were not yet so popular. And I had one that, for example, I bought for 2,000, which is now 1.5 million.
Amazing.
I gave it to my son because I didn't know it was worth that much. So when I heard that it's 1.5 million, that's already my inheritance for you. Okay. On the other one, expressing our art, I've been looking for, because I do photography, I paint, and now I'm combining them, paintography, okay? Putting painting on my photographs. Do you also conduct training programs? Can you tell us? Because I'm sure that many members of MAP will be interested to express themselves in the arts.
So we used to.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Ma'am Cora. It lasted about 3 years, but then it got super busy. Like the gallery admin and operations got super busy, so we didn't have any more time to run any workshops. But I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are workshops. Sunshine Place, where Foot Zone is. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much. We're running out of time, but as chair of the MAP Arts and Cultural Committee, I invite you to please join our committee. We have many interesting projects ahead, and certainly amongst those projects will be to invite Isa and Rachel once again. This meeting is adjourned. A reminder, see you on May 8th for the MAP GMM entitled Pedaling Through Peril, Rob Lilwall's Epic Adventure, featuring Mr. Rob Lilwall, a National Geographic adventurer and author and a global keynote speaker. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Buy art and buy it from Silver Lens Gallery, please.